I came to Palmetto in 1989 as manager of engineering and operations, and eventually became vice president of engineering and operations. And so, of course, I have a technical background. And at the time, after I came, is when Palmetto started its IT department. And Gary Jager, who is now currently Vice President of Information Systems at Palmetto Electric, he actually started our IT department and has run our IT department since 1989.
I'm responsible for all the IT systems, all the hardware, all the software, the network, a little bit into the access control. That falls under my group. And of course, in the last couple of years, cybersecurity has certainly risen in the importance of what we need to do.
We've always embraced technology, and certainly that's a key component of who we are here at the co-op. But so over the years, as technology is advanced, and of course most recently, and I'd say in the last 5 to 10 years, security of our technology has become vitally important. And I guess since I became CEO in 2014, we had a strategic planning meeting, and part of that meeting it came out that even though information system security was important, I think it became a priority in 2014 for the cooperative.
Oh, it's certainly important to have the trust of your CEO to make sure they understand that cybersecurity is important. If he understands cybersecurity is important, hopefully you can get the funding you need to make sure you're secure. And it's not inexpensive, but what's the cost of a breach? Certainly much more expensive. And the IT staff, they all understand what they need to do. They support it completely. I think there are some employees that support it more than others, but certainly to get the upper management buy-in that cybersecurity is important is key.
What I've learned over the last 2 or 3 years as we have been more involved and felt like cybersecurity is so much more important, that there's really, in my mind, at a very high level, there's 3 things that you need to be thinking about as a CEO. One is the technology component. The second is the education of your employees. And the third is one that many folks don't think about, is physical security.
Yes, we do have a managed security vendor, and we just this week switched over to the SEDC managed services. We had several people in here helping us get all that configured, and we're pretty close to having that up and running. And it definitely goes into more depth than with the other vendor we had before. So we're feeling more comfortable. And having that in place too does help us on the PCI compliance, because there are more boxes you can check off as far as logs and inventories, things like that.
We laid out some priorities and objectives that we wanted to accomplish over the next 3 to 5 years. And so I think one of the first things that we felt, and this was also a push from SEDC, that we had to become PCI compliant. And so once you become PCI compliant, to go through that process, when you go through that process, you all of a sudden learn all the things that you need to be doing and should be doing. And so those are key components in making sure that you are protecting the security of your system and the data that you have of all our employee data and all of our customer data.
Well, PCI DSS has a whole long list of items you have to go through to become compliant. And it's difficult to go through to really try to get answers to what some of these questions mean. And I think at some point I'd spoken with the OSIC and explained that, and that's, I think, when they started working, or SEDC started working on the prioritized approach and the information security program library. It's been very useful. The prioritized approach gives you a little better method of going about how to do it where you get the most bang for the buck. I definitely believe that our security level is higher than it was before. Just going through creating the policies we did not have in place, creating all the documentation that you need. Documentation is probably one of the hardest things to go through and do, to make sure you have a list of all your computers, all your network devices. We may find more items through the managed services that we didn't know about before, and that's what we want to find out. We want to find those and fix those before we have a problem.
Employee education is so important. That is probably as important as the technology side of it, to be honest with you. Initially, there is a little bit of resistance. I think that's just human nature when you emphasize something that maybe they're not that familiar with or they're not that educated about. So there's always a little bit of kickback that you may have. But I think that once they started this cybersecurity training that we've implemented, I think they've accepted it very well.
I think one of the weakest links is still our employees. We do have the Know Before cybersecurity awareness training, which we do on a monthly basis. We have our safety meetings, we present at those to make sure people understand. I think they're coming around, they're getting a better grasp of their importance in it. It is not just an IT function, it is a function for everybody in the company. So that's getting better over time. We also created a little cyber newsletter that's available to everyone, when we encourage some of these people to take it home, because it also extends to the home. So if they can get their family interested, they'll have a little bit more interest here, I hope, at the office in cybersecurity. Am
I concerned every day that I come to work or every day that I go home that one of our employees that's going to be working an outage may get hurt? Yes, I worry about that. But I understand that we've got the processes, we've got the training in place, and the same with cybersecurity. Are we completely there yet? No, but I know we're headed in the right direction, and we've got a lot of the processes, and we got a lot of the people, and we've got a lot of the information now that we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to mitigate breaches in our system. And so, am I concerned? Yes, but it's not something that I stay up at night, because I depend on our people, and I know they're doing the best job that they can do to protect our system.
Yeah, we do have a card access system for entry into all of our offices, and we handle the server side of that. We don't handle the day-to-day functions of adding cards, deleting cards. One of the processes that came out of the PCI and RC3, though, was to create a document that comes from HR every time somebody's brought in the system, taken out of the system, or if they're on extended leave, we have a process we go through to make sure that their information is kept confidential and secure.
But you got to make sure that you're controlling access by employees, spouses, contractors, other vendors, that you're controlling access to the building, and so that you can make sure that you're not allowing someone to get into the building to access, whether it be an Ethernet port somewhere. In addition to not only your own buildings, your substations out in the field, we're extending our networks out into the field now. And so physical security is a third big component. I think it's a team effort. I think it's a team effort between SEDC, who is our primary software supplier, in the co-op. And I truly believe it's a team effort. It's a partnership, if you want to call it a partnership between the two. I think we all have to work together to be able to make sure that we have secure networks.
Well, SEDC obviously is a big business partner of ours, since they have our entire CIS, GIS, capital credit systems. So the CRI initiative they've developed is certainly very helpful, and I've had numerous conversations with the OSIC saying, here's something I'm a little lacking on, I need some help on this, and he's responded, and he's improved what's in the CRI program, the ISPL. They've come back with the Know Before security awareness training. SEDC has definitely been a big help in trying to improve our security posture.
And another thing that not only did we do at Palmetto, but also from a statewide perspective, the electric cooperatives in South Carolina, the CEOs got together and they decided to form a cybersecurity committee. And so that happened in 2015, and so we had a representative like Gary and the other IT professionals from each cooperative sit on this committee, And they started sharing information about what they were doing and what they needed to be doing and what each cooperative needed to be doing and how we could help each other. That, strategic planning, as well as this cybersecurity committee, I think were big kickstarts and keys of what we're doing here in South Carolina and at all the cooperatives as well as Palmetto Electric.
Yeah, the need of cybersecurity among all the co-ops is really important. And obviously each co-op, different sizes, different makeups, IT departments are not always separated out. They might fall under finance or engineering or marketing or HR. They're everywhere. So to have a resource to go to such as SEDC to help them through this process is very important.
I think SEDC has been a huge support and they've been an entity that we've leaned on to help guide us through our cybersecurity processes. But I think we have to work together because none of us know it all. We've got systems that you need to understand. Y'all have got systems that we need to understand. And we just have to work together to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to secure our networks.